team here. I would like to them to introduce themselves to you and tell you how they got on the team and why and what they do. And I'd like to start with the lovely Elana Bogdan.
Hey everyone. I attended my first in-person Mysterium in 2019, just before the pandemic in Spokane, and that was where I met Philip and realized that we're both sort of neighbors in Brooklyn, back on the East Coast. And I reached out to him after Mysterium, and we met up for coffee a few times. I wanted to contribute to the documentary in any way that I could. I've been kind of calling myself lately a UI engineer turned game designer. So anything at the intersection of tech and web design and games is something I'm passionate about. So I've kind of become the tech girl for the Myst documentary.
And doing tons of incredible work for us. Thank you for that. And next we have Joshua Reinstein.
Hi, everyone. So I'm a relatively new fan of Myst. I played the games in high school, and I've been obsessed with video games and indie games my whole life, and all my friends like to talk about different kinds of games. But when I got started on this project, it was around the spring of 2020, and I was browsing through that starry expanse that is the internet when I came across this Fangamer Kickstarter for the Myst documentary, and I was really curious about it because I had known about Myst. I'd played the games before at my friend's house, and what I didn't realize was that the guy directing it was actually someone I had previous knowledge of, Philip Shane.
The guy
who is right over here, everybody. And his film, I'd seen one of his films before. I attended a premiere when I was very young, and so I reached out to him, and I started to talk to him about video games and Myst and all this cool stuff. And before I knew it, he had offered me a position working on this documentary with him, and it's something I'm still extremely grateful on. And right now I'm doing research and archival gathering, which is like going online and finding all this cool behind the scenes looks at Myst and computers and gaming and everything. And I'm also editing for a lot of the snippets that you've been seeing on social media, which I assume that you might follow. So yeah.
Right on. And last but certainly not least, I left the best till the end, Philip. Philip Shane, who is world-renowned and award-winning documentarian. Philip, just in case there's anyone here who doesn't know who you are yet, please give us an intro about yourself.
Yeah, and actually, before I do, I just want to give a quick shout out also to just a couple other people who are in the audience, a couple other team members who are out there on this, watching on the stream, I think, either now or later. And that's Blake Lewin, who is world renowned for bringing back Uru with Game Tap, and has worked with Cyan for a long time. And Blake helped Katie and I with the Kickstarter, and has been a kind of consulting producer with me for a long time, so he's wonderful. Randy Woods is also out there, one of my oldest friends in the world and collaborator, an incredible writer who's helping me write the script for the film, which I'll be talking about quite a bit more later, so shout out to Randy as well. Yeah, I'm Philip Shane, and hi everyone at Mysterium. I miss you guys. I'm usually there. I'm wearing my 2018 Mysterium shirt. I have a whole room full of them. So it's wonderful to see all you guys. Can I hear you? Can I just hear everyone in the room? Because you're so far away. Yay.
They probably don't have a mic on them.
That's all right.
You can see them.
Wonderful. Thank you for your visual claps. I appreciate it.
You're also getting a lot of hellos in the Twitch stream chat as well.
Oh, wonderful. Hello. Yeah. So anyway, I started making this film in 2016. I won't repeat my entire story since it's been told many times, but I live in Brooklyn, as Elana said, and the brothers, Rand and Robin, happened to come and give a talk at a conference here, and I went to see them. I was like, I can't believe they're coming to my town. I must go see them. And started talking to them afterwards, and it just blurted out of my mouth, has anyone made a documentary about you? And they were like, no. And I was like, could I? And they were like, yes. And off we went. We did a Kickstarter in 2020, as many of you know, and in fact, many of you are probably backers, for which I'm so grateful. We raised $260,000, which was enormously helpful. And number one question everyone keeps asking, we did get delayed, obviously, by COVID and other things, so that always kind of sucks. But I am pushing very hard to finish the film by next Mysterium. So imagine
Yay!
next Mysterium having a screening of the premiere of the film. If it's not finished, it's going to have that spanking new movie smell to it at the very least.
So everyone has to be at Mysterium next year to see the film for the first time. That's what you're saying.
Going to be a special Mysterium.
Right
so
on.
yeah. Real quick, just to play a little. I have some snippets I can play. I'm going to play a few little excerpts from the footage that we've gathered over the years. Some of which you may have seen before, some of which I know you have not seen before. Well, Joshua and I are going to just chat a little bit about each of these, but then I'm going to get what I'm going to show you today, just a quick update. We're doing this for about the next 30 minutes or so. I'm going to show you some excerpts from the film. I'm going to show you a sneak peek, just a little glimpse at the outline for the film. I have the entire story mapped out. Still working on it, but I have a map. And I'm not going to be able to show you the entire thing because I can't reveal all the little secrets that are involved in there, but we're going to give you some glimpses as to the act structure of the film and a little playthrough, or I'm going to just talk you through a couple of the scenes, which will come to light on the editing bench at some time in the future. And then we're going to do a Q&A. And then in our second hour, Elana is going to give us a preview of an incredible thing we've got coming up. I won't even give you the name of it, if you may already know. So Katie and Elana will lead us through that. So here we go. I just want to play. This is one of my favorite clips of anything we've gathered. Here's a little snippet from when I was at Geek Girl Con, which is an incredible event. If you've never been, if it ever comes around, you should go see it. And we met a couple of wonderful fans while Rand was signing autographs. And here's a fan named August. We've been sharing stuff on TikTok, and this one happens to have blown up. Joshua, how many? 37,000?
10.
Yeah.
10,000? No, I think it's like 37,000.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Show the
it's up there.
I'm going to share my screen. Whoop, there's the. Okay.
You're right. It's 33,000. I apologize.
33,000. Okay. Do you see a black screen with a little play button?
We do.
Fantastic. Here we go. This is a 1-minute clip called August. Oh, there's no sound, is there?
There's no sound.
No sound. Hang on. I got that was the problem with QuickTime, so I'm going to do an alternate. I have an alternate version. Okay. You see another black window ready to play?
Yep, it's good.
You got sound?
No.
You have sound now?
No.
No? You hear it?
No.
Still have no sound? All right. Hang on 1 second.
But it looks like you're. This worked when we tested it.
Good work when we tested. Tell you what.
Philip is leaving and returning. He probably was going to say, tell you what, I'll just rejoin to see if it works.
He's showing, not telling.
Exactly.
It's all part of the suspense.
Hands up if you are a backer at the planetarium or higher level in the room. Okay. So you guys get to put in your Myst story, which is good.
The filmmaker just leaves the chat.
We figured it out. It's okay.
That's sick. I'm going to skip the snippets for now. I'll come back to them if I can figure that out later. I'm going to go right to sharing the story outline.
There you go.
Would you guys like to see that? Is that something you guys would like to see? All right, fantastic.
Can you explain, as you're showing it, a little bit about why it is you do your story outlines this way? You've used them in the past. Like, that's the part that I find the most fascinating when you talk about the story.
You see the circle now?
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone, now I can't see you guys when I do this, so just so you know, I'm just looking at my circle. But what you see here is actually an outline for the film, and Katie, anybody chime in here if I'm being unclear at any point, you need some more explanation. But you would think of a normal outline as just being a vertical list, from 1 to however many scenes there are, and a straight list. This actually goes in a circle. I like to do this because it's based on the hero's journey, which many of you guys may be familiar with. And the hero's journey is often mapped in circular form. And some people will do their outline going clockwise around the circle, and some people will do it counterclockwise. I do it counterclockwise. There's reasons for that, which I can answer if anyone's interested. But basically, I don't know if do you see when I move my cursor around?
Yeah, we can see
Okay,
that.
great. So where the cursor is the very top, and the story goes around to the left and all the way around the circle. So what I can show you real quick is what you can see, the pie, it looks like a pie, the circle of the story, is broken up into 7 acts. So these are the acts, just like you think of acts in a movie. And so Act 1, I'll just lead you through the sort of very, very basic structure here. Act 1 is called Myst Released. And when I zoom in on that, do you see that get nice and big? Katie? Did that get nice and big? Or no?
Yes.
Still,
yes, we're good.
You got big. Okay, good.
I was getting questions, sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. Yeah, Joshua, I'll ask you if I have any questions. So
yeah, this is perfect.
Each act has what I call a fuse. If anyone who's into writing, I've made up this term entirely, but what's important to me is to make sure in a documentary, there's a real danger of just having a bunch of scenes in a row because this happened and that happened and that happened and that happened and that happened. But it's important to have kind of a ticking clock or something pushing you forward, something that grows and grows and grows within each act. And so I'll give you just a little glimpse here at the fuse for each act, what I call the fuse. Imagine lighting a fuse, and that intensity of that thing grows throughout the act. So I'm actually going to begin the story with when Myst was released. We're going to come back to the making of Myst later in the film. Everyone's come here. They want to watch a movie about Myst. So we imagine Rand and Robin running around the world. We kind of meet them as they're on a publicity tour going all over the world. And the fame, as it says right here, the meaning of Myst's fame intensifies. So we'll have many scenes where fans will be talking about Myst, Rand and Robin will be talking about Myst, other people will be talking about Myst. And as we go through, we'll be getting more and more. Act 2 is the making of Riven. So, just going chronologically, after Myst was released, they started thinking, what are they going to do next? And a huge pressure for them. This story what's important to me is not just what happened, the events, which a lot of stories people have heard, but how did it feel? How would it feel? I'd like all of you to ask even, how would it feel to be Rand and Robin at any one of these stages of their life? Imagine how it felt to be doing that. So imagine making Riven, and the fuse, the kind of heart of this act, is that as they're making Riven, and we'll have lots of stories, we're going to meet Rawa, we're going to meet Richard Vanderwend, we're going to meet Chuck Carter, some of whom, of course, worked on Myst as well. But we get a feeling for a lot of fun stories about what went on during the making of Riven and the incredible revolution in technology they were doing and artistry. We'll hear from how they were influenced by Walt Disney, among many other people, and things like that. They influenced by Steven Spielberg as well in Jurassic Park. What's going to be pulsing along, though, the heart of this thing is imagine being Rand and Robin and feeling the pressure of time ticking, which I think you can all relate to. And the thing is that Myst continues, it sits there at the top of the charts. Number 1 game in the world. Imagine you're working on the sequel and that dang thing just sits there haunting you mocking you, daring you to make something better. Can you do it? Well, they sure.
Not cheering you on and motivating you and exciting you. You make it sound so grim to have a #1 game for almost 20 years.
Well, I think honestly, in talking to Rand, so I've done like very extensive. One of the main things I've been doing is having long interviews with Rand and Robin and the other people who worked on it, and that is how it felt. It's certainly an exciting thing. It's a wonderful thing. It's also funding the very thing you're working on, so you don't complain about it. But I think for every artist, the pressure is, how do you look? There's no doubt. How do you top yourself? How do you do something different? Without a doubt, that was one of the hardest things. The thing that drove them in Riven, beyond their already powerful artistic impulse to just be awesome, right?
You have a comment from Revelation Fan 10 saying, "Thank you so much for proposing this from the start, Philip." So.
Oh, thank you, Revelation 10. Thank you. So Act 3, the making of Uru. I know a story that's deep in all of your hearts. I can reveal. Say what?
Pun intended.
Deep. Yeah. Exactly. The fuse there in the making of Uru is a real simple movie making thing you can never lose, with a ticking clock. So as they're making Uru, the thing that was just going along was time. Clearly, that became an issue in the making of the game. I can reveal this a little bit about. I want to show you what's all this blurry stuff. What's going on? There's nothing wrong with your eyes.
You're making me nervous.
I know. I'm going to reveal a little section here just so you can get a little flavor for what the movie is going to be like. And a lot of this, the reason I can't show you this is because, and by the way, Katie, or Joshua, keep me on track time-wise here.
We're watching.
Because I can go on and on. Fiction films you're used to seeing fiction films. You're all very familiar with them. And you've seen documentaries too, of course. But fiction films and documentaries are kind of made in a backwards order from each other. A fiction film, often the screenwriter will kind of write the whole story ahead of time, and then they will go and just film what they wrote. Documentaries, some documentaries, if it's a documentary about something that's going to happen, if I'm going to go, I made a documentary called Dancing in Jaffa that I edited about a teacher who went to teach dance to Jewish and Palestinian children who learned to dance together. So the cinematographers and the director, Hila Medalia and all, they followed him through a whole school year. When they went to film that school year, they didn't know what was going to happen. So they just went and they just filmed. And from all that footage, we figured it out backwards. This kind of film, which is an interview-based story, and it's a story about the past, so it's constructed through archival footage, old newsreels, old news footage, videos that people have collected. Cyan has, incredible number of hours of footage of the making of the games and things like that. I can actually do more in the former style, which is I'm actually writing the film. So Randy and I are writing the film ahead of time. We've done a tremendous amount of interviews, and I can use those transcripts to write I can make the interview become narration, and we can tell the story. So imagine this is the kind of thing you'll see after it gets edited together. And some of these interviews have not been done yet. Obviously, there's still a lot to do. Minute 55. These are the minutes over here on the left, by the way. It goes from 55 to 66. So here's a quick glimpse at 10 minutes from the movie. The fans at Mysterium, I believe it was I can't remember if it was the first or second Mysterium ever. Second Mysterium ever. The fans watched a trailer for Uru, and they go berserk with excitement.
That was the trailer, yes. Yep.
Yes, it was called Mud Pie at the time. Mm-hmm. I think here we have some pictures. Now, some of these pictures are made up. They're just temporary placeholders and stuff. But just some images of what we might see in the movie. Then, I don't know how many people know the story of, this is something Rand told me. He gave a live demonstration to a huge celebrity-packed crowd at an event called the Talk Conference in Santa Barbara on March 14th, 2001. And his technical team was backstage. Rand comes up on stage, and they begin to show the demo of Uru, a live demo of Uru. And all of a sudden, Rand, his avatar is out on stage. All of a sudden, his avatar fell through a hole in the cavern.
Oh, no.
Just disappeared. And Rand, being the gifted improviser that he is, just continued as if that was, of course, meant to happen. Meanwhile, backstage, his technical team completely freaked out. The head of the technical team literally fell on the floor into the fetal position while his collaborators continued to work out, try to figure out what happened. All of a sudden, at the last minute, the leader of the team, whose name I'm drawing a blank on at the moment, leapt up, realized what to do, ran to the keyboard, typed in, some commands, and all of a sudden, Rand's avatar reappeared on screen, and Rand continued as if that was all meant to be, and the crowd went wild. So that was a very exciting event. People kept coming up to him afterwards, and they wanted to know when was this Uru thing coming out, a question that I'm familiar getting about this documentary. And Rand's answer was soon. It's coming out soon. Myst 3 was released, as you all know. There was the another Mysterium. I guess that also is the same Mysterium. I guess I'm sort of blending these two, right? In Carlsbad, New Mexico, there was a billboard with a secret clue on it. A lot of fun Mysterium stories here. Unfortunately, at this time, huge tension is building between Cyan and Ubisoft. There's massive technical hurdles to be encountered. And you'll notice here it says more research needed. So I'm sort of working on getting a sense of what those details are. And then, very sad news, Ubisoft shut down Uru. Rand had to lay off almost the entire Cyan staff. And at Ubisoft, Katie, one of our best interviews I know to come, saw tears. Is that right, Katie? Can you verify?
There were tears. There were many tears. I've told this story at a few Mysteria in the past and on Uru panels before. But yes, there were tears. There were probably not tears in France. There were certainly tears in Montreal with the Uru team there. Because remember, this was a huge collaborative project. This wasn't just Ubisoft sitting back waiting for Cyan to create the game. This was Ubisoft. We had the server architecture. We had the half the QA team. There were all the producers. They were at Ubisoft, and I was at Ubisoft, and many tears. Right. I just want to say I
like the headline being "No tears in France." Can't get the French to cry.
Don't say.
You can't get the French to cry.
Yeah,
they're made of tougher
stuff.
Had
tears. Yeah. Shared tears, yes.
So just continue real quick through the story. At that point, that is the end of the Making Uru act. And I felt like, imagine that image of this really low point, which Rand managed to rally as he does incredibly, rather quickly into into what he was going to do next, of course, and we know what happened next. But I thought that was a good point. It's some kind of a cliffhanger. And that was a good point to go back into their childhood. And I'll just give you just one line here. The first minute of the childhood chapter takes us we go 20 years earlier. And we meet the Miller family. We're going to meet his parents. And they lived, again, as a lot of you know, they lived very modestly in Albuquerque. They lived in a number of places growing up. One of those places was Albuquerque, where their father is a minister. And the family's living on food stamps and government cheese. So they came a long way. So I have more here, which if in the Q&A section you want to hear more, we can do another one of those scenes. We go into the childhood chapter, and that takes us going forward. Now we go chronologically again. So we sort of see what it was like for them. And they, by the way, became families. They got families of their own. Rand and Robin, as they grew up, had families of their own, which led them into making games for kids. And we'll have, some there. We'll get a flavor of just a bit of them making the kids' games, Manhole, Cosmo, and Spelunks. There's also a rather scandalous and scary story about one of the companies that tried to basically completely rip them off and run away with all the money, and they had to scramble to do that. So some of the kinds of stories you'll get to hear in the film. That leads us to Sunsoft arriving, of course, and asking them to do a game for adults. And there we'll have the making of Myst. As they're making Myst, I could just give you one little flavor. I think a lot of those stories you may know, but I hope there'll be some new ones as well. One of the stories I learned from Robin is he talked in much more detail about a lot of stories. He's told many stories over the years, but he talked in more detail because I've had time to really sit with him in detail. And I found it fascinating that originally he felt that he would continue to do as he did with the kids' games, that with Myst, he would draw all the images himself. And he quickly realized that he was not going to be able to do this. This is before they developed a way to do it. And he had a moment of absolute horror where he realized there's no way he can, that his ambition had far outweighed his actual abilities. So they jumped on that, and they certainly have managed to make one of the greatest games of all time. And then we go forward, Myst gets released, and we know it did well. But we can pick up the story again. We go back to where we left Cyan, which was kind of in the dumps there at the end of Uru, and we meet Blake, and we learn how Blake resurrected Uru. And then as we go forward, after a number of years, kind of Cyan's surviving, but a bit in a subsistence fashion, Rand finally kind of bites the bullet and decides to run a Kickstarter for Abduction, which was one of the most incredible things that he ever lived with. No one thought that the Kickstarter for Abduction would succeed whatsoever. And of course, as we know, it succeeded wildly. And the game came out and is a gorgeous thing. And then we kind of go through to the future. The last chapter I'm calling Cyan Resurrection. The fuse, the thing that continues to increase in intensity, I'm saying as love intensifies, we will meet ever more fans, both ordinary folk like myself and like you guys, and some celebrities, people whose lives were changed. It doesn't matter who you were, wherever you came from in life. Many people who played Myst, as we know, had their lives changed, and they went on and went into the business themselves or went on to do other things, but just found that Myst continued to influence their lives, or just allowed them to feel a sense of beauty or calmness or excitement or thrill or all kinds of stuff, whatever it is that when you think of Myst comes to mind in your mind and in your heart. And we are ending with some things that I cannot talk about. But whatever Cyan is working on now and is going to be coming out with in the near future, you will see the making of in the film.
Cool.
It's going to be pretty exciting. So,
yay!
You're just talking about Firmament, right?
technical difficulties.
Nope.
Redacted text.
So do you want to take some questions now? And
Yeah,
while
absolutely.
you're taking questions, I don't know if you could possibly figure out how to get the sound. We're still seeing your screen. I think.
Let me stop that.
Yeah, Phil, I was going to say I can share if you want me to, because I have the video open right now.
Careful, you're showing like state secrets here, so be careful.
Who?
Okay, you're good now.
Yeah. No state secret. Just my outline for my talk.
Yeah, if Joshua has the snippets, some of the snippets that you wanted to show, that would be.
Well, let's
awesome.
get to some questions. You don't want to do that instead of some questions?
Sure. It's mostly thank yous right now. And I
you're
think
welcome.
Dan is
Thank
just
you.
replacing the battery in the
all set.
microphone. Okay, great. So we have a microphone in the room. Does anyone in the room have a question for Philip or any of the team to start off?
Yep, I see a hand up.
Yeah, I see a couple.
Philip, how many documentaries have you made in your career?
That's a big number.
Well, the number I've worked on, I'm really not sure. Like immediately, all things go out the window. As far as directed and produced, several, but anyone's invited to go to philipshane.com/filmography and answer that question. Joshua, maybe you can do that for me. We'll get an answer.
Okay.
I'm going to get the research team on that question right away.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. We'll get an answer for you.
At least 40.
Yeah.
I'm looking at.
I mean, I've worked on a lot.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah. There are many.
I want to be clear, though. This is the first one that I have I am doing like from gestation of the idea. Like literally, like this is wholly, truly my passion project. Like this is the film. This is I've worked on many films, and I really love them. And I have a couple back here. I've done directed and produced films for History Channel. I did a biography of Einstein. I did another film called Being Elmo. I've worked on a lot and some others. And Dancing in Jaffa is back there too.
The Rabbi, don't forget about The Rabbi.
Is an incredible film, yeah, about an amazing rabbi that's coming out.
We have a question about what software you're using to edit in from Kay Crichton. I know you know who that is.
Kay Crichton. Kay Crichton. By the way, if anyone needs an editor, Kay Crichton, Kyle Crichton of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, is extraordinary, and who is also working, continuing to work on the Rabbi documentary that I worked on, the Sandy Dubowski project that's going to blow people away. We use, so I know Kyle. Kyle's worked with me as an editor. I use Avid. We also, the people I work with, especially younger people like Joshua, a younger generation, tend to enjoy Premiere. So we've also been using Premiere. But I find that for large documentaries where you have thousands of hours of footage, as we do, and just as many bins and just a massive amount of media that you have, it's an enormous organizational challenge as well as just maintaining all the media. Avid is pretty incredible. Avid is kind of the industry standard still.
There's we have a question in the room.
Yeah.
Hi. You partially answered it already. I was going to ask what your previous films you'd worked on were, because I'm not familiar with your previous work, but since you answered some of that a little bit already, maybe pitch that over to Joshua.
Let me.
I can talk about one film that I really like that Philip's made. It's actually the poster you can see right behind him, Being Elmo, which is a documentary about the puppet Elmo and the life of the puppeteer and the history of the character. And it's actually my favorite documentary of his that he's worked on.
Can you guys see my screen now?
What you've worked on, Joshua, maybe. But
What have I worked on?
Oh,
that was
my!
what I took away from that, but.
Well, let's see. This is actually my first really big documentary feature film project. I have not really worked on much before this, although in college I worked on a bunch of short films which were narrative, and they are currently, I'm not sure if you can access them, but they're in limbo right now because I'm hoping to get them into some festivals pretty soon. But previously one of my previous work experiences was WHYY. I was an assistant to the producer of the network, and so we would travel around Philadelphia, and
one of the great public television stations.
I think so. I love that station so much.
Home of I think, is that also the home of Fresh Air on the radio?
Yeah, Fresh Air with Terry Gross, who I actually met once. I walked by her office every morning on my way to work, and one time she was just there, and so I popped in and said hello, and we just talked. She has
probably played Myst.
That's a good point.
She has a Myst vibe about her. Probably. Can you guys see my screen now?
We can, yeah.
So for the heck of it, I'm just sharing. Thank you for asking me that, because I skip over this aspect because I feel like people in the audience may have already seen my presentation on that. This is just my website, philipshane.com. Philip with one L. That's all my parents could afford. That's how you remember that. That's how you remember that one L. I think we also have another Philip we may have another Philip in the audience who also has one L, who's become a friend of mine. Anyway, this is just a glimpse of some of the different projects I work on. So, biography of Einstein, Being Elmo, as you mentioned, about the creation of the puppet Elmo and the puppeteers behind that. This is a recent film I have, a short documentary about Jay Dosko, and she's a photographer, photographed all the old World's Fairgrounds in North America. Kind of a wonderful little biography. This is a film here called Making Trouble. You see these, it's about 7 Jewish female entertainers throughout the 20th century. A really wonderful film. Including Joan Rivers, who I got to meet and spend a lot of time with in the making of that film. It was incredible. Films about Martin Luther King for ABC News. Films about the Beatles, and I had the incredible fortune to work with the surviving Beatles. At that time, there were still 3 surviving Beatles, but I really spent a lot of time after I did this project for ABC News with the 3 Beatles. Paul McCartney asked me to come work with him on a biography about his and Linda, his wife's life after the Beatles, and so I did that. That's a film called Wingspan. I've also worked on. Here's a little guy called about Elvis. It's kind of a part concert film, part documentary. This is a film called Last of the First, which I edited. It's one of the first films actually I edited. That's about a band in Harlem in which there's a philanthropist recognized that there was a tremendous number of unbelievably talented musicians in Harlem who were the younger players in some of the most famous bands in the 20th century who were broke and unemployed, and just said this is an unbelievable crime, and he created this band for all of them.
And this is pre-Summer of Soul, so right?
I suppose so.
Yeah.
Anyway, lots of different films. I could go on and on.
And Elana, you've worked in film as well in college, correct?
As a hobby, I documented a number of student events and ran around with a glide cam stabilizer, did some editing. Yeah, it was all just for fun.
I don't know what a lot of those words mean, so you've got more experience than I do in film, that's for sure. So, Philip, did you want Joshua to show a couple of snippets?
Yeah, I'd love to. Joshua, do you have August?
Yeah, I have August open right now.
Let's show August.
This is Joshua Reinstein saving the day as he does every day. Thank you, Joshua. Every day.
No problem. Let me just...
He saved me yesterday, in fact. It's only been 24 hours since the last save.
I'm just kind of everyone's hero. It's okay.
He's like Spider-Man.
All right, can everyone hear? Oh my God, thank you so much. Spider-Man's my favorite. All right, can you hear this?
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, that's very low.
Hi. Hello. I'm Gus McGrath.
What is your actual name?
August. Okay, like, totally say no if it's weird. But if possible, could you just be like, oh, my friend. I know it's so weird. I know it is, but I've wanted it since I was 8.
Oh, my friend.
You have fans, in case you didn't notice.
Oh, my God. You want a picture?
So fortunately, when we share these, they're very choppy, but that's a wonderful video. So
yeah, you guys, if you want to see these videos and others, you can go to TikTok/the Myst Doc. That's our social media handle on all channels. So,
do we have any other questions, Katie?
Yes, we have quite a few. Are you ready?
All right, let's hit them. Yeah.
All right. Was there a period where the documentary was chronological, or was there always an intent on jumping from Uru to childhood, for example? And that's from Telrov. Thanks, Telrov.
Thank you. That's a great question. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I played around with different orders of things. Although I just happened to have kind of snapped onto this idea fairly early on. Part of my concern was that, it's called the Myst Documentary, and I feel like a lot of people who will come to watch it are there to watch kind of the making of Myst, which is obviously a huge part of the story, and will be in there. But I worried that if that was the first part, then no one would want to watch the rest. And there was always a question as to how do we go back in time. When you do a documentary, there's always, what in movies you call the backstory. And so at what point do you go to the backstory? And when it just struck me that, when you're on the right spot, when you think of an idea and you can feel it, if it's a story, if you're writing a story or you're writing a movie or something like that, and you think of an idea and suddenly you get this rush of feeling like what it would feel like to actually be in the audience, seeing that on the screen, you've kind of come up on something right. So this idea of launching the movie bang right into some huge publicity tour, it'd be a wonderful way to meet the guys also, by the way, and get a sense of who they are in the middle of this thing where they really are fish out of water. It's not something they expected to enjoy. So, yeah.
Is there from Obscuratory, which is a really good name as well?
Oh, that's Philip. That's Philip with one L. So,
is there an interview you wish you could get on camera but have not been able to?
There are a number of interviews which I wouldn't say have not been able to because anybody has turned down any interviews. It's just a matter of scheduling, and I've wanted to get the story really, really, really tight. I mean, I wanted the research to be incredibly thorough. I want the outline to be just rocking, so that I know this is where that person. So then for any given person I'm going to interview, this is where their story will appear in the movie. So I know exactly what I want to ask them. So that it's more a matter of that. Among the people I'm really hoping to interview, in fact, I'm incredibly nervous now just imagining the fact of interviewing, for instance, Steven Spielberg, who is a fan of Myst, going back to, we think, possibly Manhole. Apparently he and Kathleen Kennedy used to play movies together. Play the games together.
Because Dig came out around the same time as Myst, and I think it was influenced by what they were seeing Cyan doing. So.
Yeah, and I will have to resist heartily asking Steven Spielberg about the E.T. video game. I just don't want to.
Oh no!
I feel like that might be the end of the interview right there.
I feel like it might be the end of our panel. We've invoking that.
Yeah, right. Is that like
just mentioning ET?
I know.
Gonna break everything.
No, it's the ET video game. It's just like.
I gotta say, by the way, though, as a documentary
in the theater, you can't do that.
As a documentary filmmaker, I encourage everyone to go watch the documentary about the ET video game. It's really so wonderful. Cute. So much fun. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. There's a lot going on in the chat. Thanks, everybody. They're still talking about Carlsbad stuff, which is very cool. So Hickory and Hummingbird says, thank you for allowing us to add our various tidbits this far into the filmmaking process due to how a nonfiction film can allow for that kind of late film editions. And I believe they're talking about the Myst story especially.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are continuing to reach out to people.
I want to emphasize, just in case it doesn't come up in the Q&A, I want to emphasize one thing really important. As they do every time I visit with them, but I was just a couple months ago, again, I was out and I was visiting with Rand and Robin. And one thing they emphasized was something I'm completely in agreement with, but they said, we have one and only one concern. And their only concern was that this become the Rand and Robin story only. And I said, I totally know what you're talking about, and I totally agree. So they, you again, in writing, you have a story, which is what we call kind of the spine, or you kind of the thing that you keep coming back to that moves the story forward. And so Rand and Robin's story is kind of the spine of this, the heart of this, the tick-tock, so to speak, the tick of the tick-tock. The talk is fans who we will see throughout the movie of all kinds. Also, like I mentioned, the people who, what Rand and Robin are, they're so humble and sweet, and this is so, it's so genuine, and it's so the reason I make movies. The reason I make movies, I've said this every time, but again, because we have new people in the audience, I make movies about famous people often who are in the spotlight, and so I'm shining a spotlight on someone who is famous. But really, there's a glow around that spotlight, and there's all kinds of people to the left and to the right and behind, and perhaps even in front of that you just didn't notice. And so people like people who invented the technologies. I often mention Bill Atkinson, who created HyperCard. There's people on the Mac team. Steven Spielberg, who created Jurassic Park, which directly influenced Riven. Rand saw Jurassic Park and said, whatever computers they used, we got to get those, and they did. Walt Disney, the spirit of Walt Disney, but also the literal Walt Disney through Richard Van der Wijn, and Rawa and Chuck Carter. I mean, these are other people who are very close to the spotlight, but are little known. And then the second generation, the third generation, the fourth generation. There's so many people who famous, and like I said, not famous, but who played Myst sitting on the laps of their parents, for instance, which I find so adorable and sweet. Who have gone on to do incredible things. Jonathan Blow, of course, who made The Witness. Eric and Hannah, who made The Witness. Who wrote, well, no, they worked on later versions of it. But Eric, who came in on Uru, Ryan Werzak, anyway, a lot of people who are working at Cyan now, they're very close to to Random Robin, but carrying on the tradition, of course.
Mhm.
But there's also people beyond. So a lot of people who I've met at Mysterium
Mhm.
over the years have told me their story, and so those things are part of it. All the way to the curators of the Museum of Modern Art, Paola Antonelli, who is one of the first to put MoMA in the Museum of Modern Art. Incredible.
Put Myst.
Chris Melisinos, great video game historian who is on the foundation, by the way, of the Video Game History Foundation, a wonderful organization you should look into if you don't know about it. Chris Melisinos, who put Myst in the very first exhibit, I believe, about video games that may have ever been done. Certainly a very high-profile thing at the Smithsonian,
Yeah.
in Washington, D.C. So lots of people's stories being touched on.
Yeah.
Obviously, not everybody can have their entire life told, and Random Robin's life is pretty amazing. So
Yeah. And also something I wanted to add is that Myst it's not only just influenced gaming, but also the whole entire culture of entertainment, like the rise of these indie projects that start out with just a couple of people and an idea, and then they spring off into something incredible. And that's
Two guys
true
in a garage.
Yeah, for filmmaking and TV shows and everything too.
Yeah. We do have a question in the audience if Dan can bring the microphone.
There was someone in this row that had their hand up who... here. Okay. He put it in Discord, so it's on your list, I guess.
Oh, okay, got it. All right.
that's pretty clever, by the way.
I know.
Multimedia question submission. I approve.
How much, from Hickory and Hummingbird again, how much of an awesome effect on one's life does Myst have to be worthy of documentary consideration?
I don't know how you quantify that.
Well, I mean, and considering
55 points.
So
55.3.
I will say, since opening the vault earlier in the week, I won't say much about it because we want to show you more in the latter half of this presentation. But since opening the vault, just going through, just taking a random assortment of peeks into books that people have shared, there are so many that start with, I was on my father's lap, or I was on my uncle's lap, or I was on my, sitting beside my mom. Like, there are so many stories like that. Or, I sat my kids down with me. And so, yeah, I think what...
By the way, let me just say there's a whole nother category of stories which I would put my own in. I'm not looking for any sympathy here, but to say I was on nobody's lap. There was no lap for me.
We can arrange that, Philip.
And
we'll get you set up.
Myst became that lap. No, I mean, Myst really, there's a number of people who tell stories about just whatever. They discovered Myst at a particular time in their life where they were, kind of trying to find themselves again.
I was with 6 drunk friends the night we discovered Myst. But there are so many stories where...
There's a minimum of 5 drunk friends you have to be with to make it to the cat.
That's the magic number, is 5.
Yeah, but to take, I don't want to dismiss this question. So the question was, when he was saying how much does
of an awesome effect on one's life would it need to be worthy of documentary consideration, is the way it was put.
There's I would say that there's no
right.
It doesn't work that way. I think for better or worse, the stories, any story, no matter who tells it and no matter what it's about, that makes it to the final film is the end product of a million things swirling around. So it's there's so many things that make it and don't make it based on random decisions, or it's just a million compromises coming together. I will say that is one reason why stay tuned for the second hour where we're talking about the
I was just going to say this
community vault, because there's other films are
why we created it, right?
Films are limited by time, right? Films are limited by time. The time a film uses is precious and it's confined. There are other forms of media like the web, or whatever, print media that aren't limited by that, and therefore everyone's welcome to share when we get to that point. So anyway, I don't want to take any way
also
away from that. Yeah.
In terms of worthy of consideration, I mean, we are considering everything that is submitted to the vault. The documentary team is reviewing every book and every page, and we'll talk more about that soon. But trust us that your stories will be heard, and we'll all be a part of.
They'll be available for discovery. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, it'll be available for discovery, and they'll be a part of our creative process.
We'll be sharing that today.
Yeah.
So we have about 5 minutes before we're allowing everyone to take a break and small bladders to have some relief. So are there any other questions in the room before we break?
Yep, we got one.
Hi, I have one question for Philip and one question for everyone. Philip, this is a bit of a dark question, but I just wanted to know, did you get a chance to interview John Keston before he passed?
No.
Oh, that's too bad.
We're sorry.
And the question for everyone.
We did try.
If you've been watching the adventure game community right now recently, we've got Ken and Roberta Williams coming back, redoing Cosmic Cave, or doing Colossal Cave Adventure. We've got Ron Gilbert coming back with a new Monkey Island game. Is there a sense among the team right now that this is a really good time for a documentary about one of the most classic adventure games in gaming history, really? Like it is the time. Is that sense kind of permeating the crew?
The nostalgia is strong right now. You're right.
Well, it coincides with the anniversary, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, next year will be the 30th anniversary of Myst, and we all saw what happened at the 25th anniversary. I mean, everybody just showed up to talk about their experience with Myst at the 25th. So we'd love to see the same thing happen next year. Everybody be ready for next year.
The year of Myst.
The year, yeah.
In a year.
Myst at 30.
We got two more in the room. I don't know what we have time for.
I would say,
I got two more.
I want to answer the question a little bit. He's saying, does it feel like now is a good time? And I just think we're seeing things come back after 20 to 30 years all the time, right? And so, I think 30 years kind of a perfect, we're seeing everything is kind of new again right now. The Atari and, Tommy Tallarico's working with getting a new, what's the console he's working with? I always forget because I didn't have one, but there's all these old consoles that are being brought forward and new again. You saw the Myst on the Atari yesterday. Like, it's just crazy, all the stuff that's being made. So I think the timing is never wrong, but it's probably pretty great right now, like you said. There are two more questions in the room.
Actually, it may just be one more.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Philip, what first got you introduced to Myst?
It's funny because it's always been a part of me. Like, I had to go back and think. I had to go back and actually kind of figure it out. What I discovered was it was when I had just finished college, I believe, and I came home to my mom and stepfather's house, and they had just bought a compact Presario desktop computer, and needed help setting it up. And I'm a Mac person, so already I was full of scorn for this machine anyway, but I had to figure out how to use the Windows so I could show them how to use it. But I believe Myst came preloaded on it. That's right, Katie, you told us that. So that was something I learned, by the way, for the documentary. I was like, a lot of people discovered it that way. So I just opened it up one day and I was like, what is this? I was immediately, my mind goes to the doc, but in fact, I then remind myself that really what grabbed me was the opening prologue, as I'm sure it has for so many people. Mm-hmm. I was like, I was a film student, and in fact, I just graduated with a film degree from University of Maryland, and I was like, this is a movie. This is not a game. I am in it. I am the star of this movie. I'm in this world now, and I can explore. So that was my Myst story, so to speak. What grabbed me?
That's pretty great.
Thank you for the question.
What do you think, Dan? Is it break time?
Time for a break? Does anybody else have questions in the room? Nope, no hands up. Oh, wait. One.
Well, we will be answering questions about the documentary and the vault after, but go ahead before the break and then.
Last question.
Yeah.
This is really quick, simple answer. Did you get a chance to interview Jack Wall about the music composition for the games?
We also had a question asking about Marty O'Donnell, both of those people.
Yeah, I've not done formal interviews of most of the people. I've not done formal interviews of yet because like I said, I'm getting the script just sort of nailed down so I can go and I know. But I have interviewed in the sense that I've done long background interviews with a lot of people and I've had long conversations. I've done an enormous amount of research, and I have spoken to both of them. Yeah. At length. In fact, I met them first at the Mysterium that was in Spokane a couple of years ago. But yeah, wonderful people. So I look forward to having them, hearing more from them in the film.
Yeah. We'll see you in 15, yeah? The break is now for 15 minutes, so we'll see you back at 11:15.
We'll take 15, everybody, and then we'll return.
And then we'll do a live.
Thank you. All right. Katie, the floor is yours.
Woohoo! Welcome back from your break. I just want to say that we didn't even get to half the questions that were submitted before the break, so we'll spend more time at the end of Elana's presentation going over questions for both Philip and Joshua, and as well for Elana about the Vault of Stories. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our wonderful web developer and IT specialist and just dev extraordinaire, Elana Bogdan.
Hey everyone, I am very excited to share this work with you. It's been underway for honestly quite a while now. I think it's almost been a year and a half that we've been kind of ideating and iterating on this project. And it's finally live and ready to go, and we want to tell you all about it. I really wish I could have been there in person this year. It warms my heart to see so many of you together, and I'm definitely planning on coming in person next year. So I'll have to make up for it that way. So I have a little presentation that I put together about our new Vault of Stories. I'm going to do my best to share my screen here.
So just in case there's anyone who doesn't know, we held a Kickstarter for the documentary, as Philip said at the top of the presentation. And one of the rewards in several tiers is to tell us your Myst story. And so we had tried to think of the best way we could capture and retain those stories. And that's why the Vault was born. So what you're seeing now is...
all in the presentation.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
All right. I hope you can see my slides here. I am trying to monitor.
Yep.
Okay.
Looks good.
Great. Go full screen. Okay, full screen enough. Right. So this is our community Vault of Stories. I did all of the design and engineering work for it, and Philip, it was all kind of according to the vision of Philip, and Katie was a really helpful project manager for our work, and it was only possible, as Katie was mentioning, thanks to our Kickstarter, thanks to our backers on Fangamer. So this is for you, and it's for the community as a whole. And it was only possible because of you. And it's great to know that there are people out there who will appreciate this work. So what is the Vault? I think that's a very basic question I've got a number of times now. I've tried to describe it a bunch of times in different words, and it always comes out a little differently. But essentially, it's a library. Myst is full of libraries, so we've built one of our own. And it's a website. It's online, but it doesn't really feel like a website. It feels more like a point-and-click Myst game. At least that's our hope. It's a little bit of an ode to the games in and of itself. it's an archive of memories from people like you. We've already collected so many stories in all these different multimedia forms, whether writing or video or audio or images. And we're continuing to collect those stories. And the hope is that this vault will exist for a long time to come and kind of become one of the go-to places for learning about the history of our community and of the Myst games and the people whose lives have been impacted. Like Philip mentioned earlier, the documentary isn't just Brandon Robbins' story. It's all they're sort of the seed of it, and then it's all the roots and branches that have kind of come out from there. And so the vault is a way for us, for the purposes of the documentary, to collect a lot of those stories. And, you know, we can't promise that any one specific story is going to be featured in the documentary, but they're definitely all going to inform the documentary. And it's possible that we'll feature some of them. So this is for kind of selfishly, it's for the documentary so that we can tell your stories. It's a thank you for the backers who supported at the planetarium level or above. And it's, as I said, it's for the community as a whole because the site is public for anyone to visit. In fact, it's already online now. Most of you probably don't have the URL, which we'll be sharing at the end. But it's definitely not just for our backers. And one day in the future, we may also open submissions to the general public. But right now, it's and probably up until the time of the documentary is released, it's limited to backers at the planetarium level or above. Not quite sure how to frame this question, but I just wanted to give a little window into the design history. So there were a number of different kind of vault concepts that we ran through before arriving at the current one. This was the earliest demo. Credits, I think, to Riam. I believe I shamelessly borrowed a photograph from his website of his working Myst linking book to put together this mock-up. So these were sort of the humble beginnings of the site when it was kind of just a fancy submission form for sharing videos with the team. And we had another little version here that actually situated the vault in the library on Myst Island.
I forgot about this. Cool.
Oh, the video is pausing.
This is early days.
Early days.
Yeah, I had honestly almost forgotten about this too.
It wasn't grand enough for Philip's, for how Philip wanted things to be, though. I remember he felt it was a little too small.
Oh, this is unfortunate. When I wasn't live,
Again, has nothing on me. Vicious, vicious.
Yeah, so we eventually decided we didn't want to situate it in the world of Myst, but rather in the real world and sort of as a tribute to Myst. But yeah, we had this earlier design that was in the library, and you could pick up this little kind of pen from the inkwell. And eventually that became this. But before I show it off, and you know, some of you have already seen a preview of this, I know, at Mysterium last year. Some of you may have already submitted books if you're backers. But before we go and visit the site itself, I just wanted to mention what some of the inspirations were for it. So it's a little bit inspired by the Public Library of Stockholm, which is this incredible architectural space with these large sort of circular arcing bookshelves. And it was also inspired by the U.S. National Archives. If I were there in person, I was curious to ask how many people have identified that is kind of where it is situated. That's where a lot of the source imagery comes from. So I'm curious if people noticed that. But it's kind of a like, can you spot the differences game? Because we have edited so many aspects of this space. So it's kind of, it's definitely not in the National Archives. It's just a National Archives like space.
Yeah, I could add just one sentence too. Is that when you go there to the real place, so I grew up in Washington D.C., so it's also just deeply personal to me. This is just always one of my favorite places in the world to go, and it was one of many places I go where I'm like, this is so Myst. It's a grandness to it, but also like an intimacy that's quite nice, especially if you can be there when I've been there when there's nobody there. It's just me, and it's quite quite moving. Yeah.
Yeah, Philip, I know you've talked about wanting to like run around in the vault in your socks and slide around on the floor.
Yeah. Risky business.
Myst without socks would be amazing.
Risky Myst.
I mean, Myst with Myst in your socks. Yeah.
So we're about to go take a little field trip to the vault, but just to give you some stats on what to expect. So we've only actually been live with the vault for about 3 or 4 days since we invited. So that this data at least is from 3 days.
I'm gonna update your stats as soon as you tell them. So go ahead.
Awesome. And so in just a very short span of time, we've already received over 50 books. I think it's like 55 books now.
56 as of 5 minutes ago.
Amazing. With over 115 pages of stories. So
126.
Thank you, Katie. Yeah, so it's really been overwhelming. We didn't know how much the shelves would fill up before Mysterium, and we've already gotten so much content from so many of you, and we know that it's going to keep pouring in. I think that the invites to the vault went out to about 550 people, and so there are a lot more books still for us to receive, and I think there are a lot more backers at that tier as well. You just need to please submit your backer surveys. If you are a backer at the planetarium level or above, you haven't gotten this email, it's probably because you haven't filled out your backer survey, which is just necessary on Fangamer's end of things.
And if you have any questions, you can always ask in Discord. You can send a message to us through Kickstarter. You can send an email to info@themystdocumentary.com, or you can DM me anytime.
Yes.
And I know we're coming. We'll come back to it. Sorry to interrupt, but Katie, right? People can join, and you can. I think you can
still
even
back. Yes, if you've backed at a lower level than the planetarium, or if you haven't backed the Myst documentary at all, you can late back it on Fangamer. I'll put that link in.
I have.
We'll come back.
Yeah,
we'll come back to that. Yeah.
But yes, you can. You can be part of this still for the next several months.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've already received books in at least 3 different languages. I've seen French, German, English.
Yeah.
Maybe more to come. So I'm, I guess, a little bit of a data nerd. So we have right now a number of books that don't have any pages yet. People are still working on it. A lot of books that have 1 or 2 pages, but we have multiple people who have submitted 10 or even 13 pages to their books. And I think that's one of the cool things about the vault is it's 1 book per person, per backer, but you can add as many pages as you want. I think we're set up to handle the data, at least for now. So we welcome you to make the book that you really want to share with the community and put everything into it. The most popular type of submission has been writing. We've got about 70 pages of writing, but we do have almost 40 images, photos and drawings and things that people have submitted. And we've got over 10 videos. No audio yet, but if any of you have Myst music you've composed or interviews that you've done, or you just want to record yourself just talking about your experiences with Myst, you're welcome to submit audio as well. And this is the funniest data viz that I've put together. So you can choose from 6 different colors for your book. And silly me, I thought I could name this blue, but maybe I'll call it cyan. You know, if I'm have a color picker on a Myst related site, one of the colors has to be cyan. It'll be a cute thing. Little did I know that almost everyone would be like, ooh, cyan. I love and support cyan. I'm going to choose that color for my book. So,
I'm cyan. I think, Joshua, you're
That was
cyan
my
as
color
well,
too.
aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Katie, what color did you choose?
Green, because green is my favorite color. By the way, I'm not sure why my camera's off. It won't let me turn my camera on. I'm working
All right.
with Dan. Sorry.
I'm sad about brown though. There's no love for brown.
No brown. No.
Well, you didn't even choose brown, Josh. So.
I didn't choose brown, so I'm one to talk.
So I literally saw this and I was like, the shelves are looking a little bit too homogenous. So I created a second type of cyan colored book. So there are two different types of cyan colored books that randomly be assigned to, just to add a little more variety because everyone chose that color. All right, so I think we're ready for our field trip. So I'm going to head over. This is the official URL. I think you're hopefully all familiar with the mystdocumentary.com. That's been our homepage for a while, mostly just to kind of link to our social media and let you sign up for our mailing list. So this is just that link with Vault before it.
You can also watch the trailer for the movie there too. The Kickstarter trailer is there as well.
Yes, yeah, and you can link to our press site from there where we've got a bunch of goodies, even if you're not a member of the press. If any of you at Mysterium right now are tempted to go to this link on your phones, I would not recommend it. This is a very visually rich website with a lot going on, and we thought about adapting it for mobile, but it would have just been a completely different experience. So you can kind of use it on your phone, but it's not going to be the best way to experience it. So we'd recommend waiting until you're at a laptop or desktop computer. All right, so I think I need to stop sharing this tab and then go share my other tab. So one moment. Let me restart the share. Okay. And let me refresh this so you can get the full experience here. So can you see the vault? I think it's working. Yes. Great. So some of this may look familiar from the presentation last year, but there's been a lot more development both on the surface and behind the scenes. And yeah, we're excited to show that off. So let me click to open the gates. We wanted to make this nice and cinematic. I'm guessing that streaming it is not going to do justice to it, but trust me, it's cool.
Super cool. The sound too.
Yeah, we've added a bunch of little sound effects to the experience. So there are these red and blue signs, count all the Myst references you can spot. There are quite a few Myst references here. So these will kind of direct you if you're new. It tells you about how you can submit your own book. And it also tells you about how you can go read everyone else's books. And so something that I didn't get to really show off last year was what the submission process looks like. So I'm going to just walk you through a quick demo of that. So again, I'm kind of pointing and clicking like a Myst game here. You can see I'm using some of the actual cursors from the Myst games as well.
Are we okay time-wise with Katie?
Yep.
Okay.
We're doing good.
Cool.
Great.
We did have somebody thank you for the various ribbon nods especially, but just all the, I mean, I know you're going through it, but people are noticing the small details and thanking you for that.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Of course, this is a community that's all about the small details. So trust me that the Dunny writing here has been vetted and the spelling corrected, grammar corrected. So we have this little welcome note from Philip, and which you can go check out when you visit the site. And so here's what it would look like if you were just invited as a new backer. So I'm going to create a little book here. Let's see, demo person.
I've seen this many times. Every time I see it, it's so beautiful, Elana.
All magic.
So beautiful. Look at the woodcut feel to it. Beautiful.
Yeah, a lot of
font.
Love went into this, and you definitely gave me a lot of good inspiration along the way. So I think it was a great collaboration. Here's a fun feature that some of you at Mysterium might appreciate. I think not everyone will appreciate this, but if you want, you can enter your name in the Dunny alphabet here. So if I wanted to say Ellie, I can say use Dunny alphabet and type lowercase l. There we go.
Amazing. Amazing.
If you do that, your book will end up on a shelf of Dunny books. So if you can't find it sorted alphabetically, look for the Dunny shelf. Also, just, not every letter in English directly translates to the Dunny alphabet. So just make sure that you're not typing Q's and things. Okay, and I can do a sample test at test.com, little email. Here's where you can choose the book color. I'm going to choose brown just to rep brown because I'm choosing brown. So then I hit save. And so you'll see the book doesn't go up on the shelves immediately because we have a review process. And that's both for us to make sure that we see everyone's stories and appreciate them. And it's also just to make sure to keep this a safe space and make sure that people are only submitting respectful content. And in fact, we have a little agreement about that here, no discriminatory content and no, if you're sharing content that is including other people, just make sure to get their consent first. And I think we'll be pretty strict about this. So you have to check that box. I see a question here about whether the email is shared publicly. The email is not shared publicly. It's just for us to verify your account, and we can reach out to you if there are any issues with your submission. We're not just going to reject something and leave you in the dark. We'll let you know. If there's something wrong with it, we'll let you know why. So that's what the email is for. No one else will see it. You may notice I've got the Dunny numerals at the bottom of these pages. That was a fun little project to convert to base 25 and make sure I was using that font properly. So these are all the correct numbers. And so here you get to choose what type of page you want to add to your book. And each page is only one of these, but you get many pages. So we could start out with video, and I can just use the placeholder video here, which is the Kickstarter trailer for the Myst documentary. I can add a caption, and you get up to 240 characters. And now if I hit save, once again, I'll be told it's under review, and this will update to approved or rejected once we've had a chance to review it. But that way it's been received. And meanwhile, you can keep adding pages. So, maybe I want to add some writing. And then, maybe I actually want this page of writing to be the first page of my book. So I can click reorder.
Oh.
And now you'll see it comes first. It's the writing and then the video.
Nice. This is new. I hadn't seen that stuff. This is fantastic. And the under review, that's fantastic. This is gorgeous.
So that's what submitting a book looks like. I have one unsaved.
If you want to refresh, it should show approved if you want.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so I'm going to put the book down, and I think I'm going to get a warning here. This little note. We wanted everything to feel very tactile and to feel in universe. So, there are no modal dialogues or anything. There's of course, you get a note from the archivist. So I'll say, I want to save all my changes. And so let's see if Katie did a job here.
My job.
Now you've all seen that code, but that is okay. So if I go back, I think this one is still under review, but then the video has been approved. And also, I assume the book itself has been approved.
It has now.
Yes, your book is live on the shelves for all to see.
Oh, wow.
So it's demo person. So it's going to be under the letter P, so you can go to the shelves on the left or right side of the room, and there are different ranges of the alphabet. I guess P is going to be on this side. So I can scroll down and let's see, is demo person here? Where is demo person?
You have to go up. Maybe it's under D.
No, it'll be under person.
It should be by last name. Let's see.
Oh, you're on the A to D side.
I just heard Dunny Shelf.
Oh,
the Dunny Shelf, yes.
That's
right. Because you did.
Thank you for helping us solve this puzzle.
So it should be under Ellie. Here's Ellie, brown book, Dunny, Ellie.
Nice.
And here
it's
we
on
go.
The brown shelf.
Here are the 2 pages.
That was awesome community puzzle solving, by the way. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, whoever that was.
So that is, of course, a junk book, which we will remove. But we have a lot of great submissions that we've received already. And just to show off a couple really quickly, here's one from Veronica Hamilton, who I'm sure
this is a beautiful one. Beautiful story.
Yeah, she's done such a lovely job here. She has a foreword. She has her CV in the Dunnyverse. And then she has some pages of journaling, and she also has a number of videos that she has shared. So
she's added some since you last saw it, by the way.
Deep City trailer, Deep City episodes 1 and 2, or part 2 and 1 and 2. There's this music video fan vid. There's a lot of great stuff here.
Yeah.
It's a great song.
I was going through a lot of the books yesterday, and they're very moving.
Yeah, just to share another quick example, here is one from John Gonzalez, and mixed in with the writing here, there are these amazing photos.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And
incredible.
These.
You can click them to see the full image. They have captions. I love to see this kind of thing. I think it's great.
Got the green.
Yep. Great. There are some spoilers in these pages. Some codes that have been included. So just fair warning.
Oh, the rocket ship.
Kudos to you, John, for
spoiler if it's 29 years after the game came out.
Sure.
I would say no, it is not a spoiler. Also,
kudos to you, John, for saving.
Isn't this great? I'm so happy
these.
John saved this. Yeah.
Oh, another spoiler. There's a lot of spoilers there. Sorry.
57. No,
and so I would just recommend just coming and just paging through the books. Our own team has started telling our stories too. Katie has a great book here. Joshua has a great book. Philip and I both have books. I think, we're all still working on these things, but there's already just so much content. And I would also encourage you to just check out some of the settings. If there's anything that you want to be different about the site, there's a decent chance we've thought of it in the settings. For example, some people last year mentioned wanting accessible fonts. And so we do have that. So if you want it to be more readable, this is across the site. You can change the font. So even these signs here will change to.
I just want to say kudos to you, Elana, for making the accessible stuff still in world and still fitting the design. It doesn't just go to like some, it doesn't break. It's beautiful.
Yeah, everything feels really organic.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think accessibility in design is incredibly important, both on the internet and in games. And so we definitely wanted to put some thought into that. Also, if you're not used to playing Myst games, which I know everyone at Mysterium is, but to make this a little more accessible for other internet users, there's this little show me where to click trick.
Oh, cool.
See the clickable regions.
Nice.
So you kind of get a hint, and you can see these page corners are clickable. Oh, I can click the bottom of the screen to step back.
Nice.
So that's another little setting you can toggle on. So there are a bunch of little things. You can mute the sounds, etc. So I think that concludes the tour.
It's fantastic.
We have a question about asking if you could give a brief rundown of what frameworks and backend you used to make it all happen. And that question is from Riam.
Yes.
For whom it's about 3 a.m.
Thanks for sticking around, Riam.
Thank you, Riam.
Yeah, it's pretty run-of-the-mill technology. The back end is a node server with a MySQL database. It's hosted on DigitalOcean, and the front end, it's built with Webpack. It uses less for the styling. jQuery. Honestly, most of my web development is very, what's the word? Like homespun or DIY. I don't tend to use a ton of off-the-shelf libraries and frameworks. So, and especially for like a very like bespoke website like this. So most of what you're seeing is just kind of handcrafted, you know, CSS and JavaScript, or less in JavaScript and HTML, with, you know, just some basic tools mixed in. Hopefully that answers the question. We also have an admin portal, which I don't think I'm going to show off now, but it makes it easy for Katie and me and anyone else in the future who helps us with moderation to just review all of the content coming in a quick and easy way. And that is built with some Bootstrap.
I will say, if you're adding content, just once you add it in and it has been approved, go through one more time and just check for spelling and grammar errors. You know, make sure it's the way you want it, because unfortunately, approval does not include spell checking. It doesn't include grammatical errors, spacing errors. So we'll approve it as long as there's, you know, nothing that shouldn't go up on the internet for that your grandmother wouldn't be proud of. And then, but yeah, just check, just come back within a day or two and check your spelling and grammar.
Yeah, Katie and I have had a lot of these conversations of like, well, there's nothing offensive here, but I kind of wish they hadn't made that typo, or they hadn't used their Virginia alphabet that way. It was like,
right.
We're, you know, if you do you, that's you know, we trust you'll all submit quality content, and we're not going to be the judge of that, the critics of that.
Check the name on your spine as well. Go to the shelf, just take a look through and make sure everything is the way you want it.
It's always good to check your spine.
Elana, is there a card catalog people want to know?
A card catalog. I think the closest thing to that would be the admin site that Katie and I use.
Right.
I know
we have a secret card catalog.
We used to have a card catalog, but everything's been digitized now.
Actually, it literally has cards on the admin site, but Bootstrap cards. But Philip, you might want to comment on this. I think part of the idea behind the archives, the vault, is that it's not like you can just, you know, use search tools and filter tools and go right to exactly what you want to see. You kind of have to wander through. You have to explore and take books off the shelf. And maybe, you know, you're browsing through and suddenly you find something really exciting, or suddenly, oh, that's a book from a scientist. I didn't know they had books here, you know. So it's kind of full of surprise, and there's no easy shortcut, because that kind of takes the experience away. Is that right, Phil?
Yeah, I would just say in general, it's an interesting question. I like limitations. I think it's really fun. And I think, you know, it's also in the spirit of the games. You know, you can't, when you go into Atrus's library in Myst, you don't get a card catalog. There's no Google. You have to open up each book and figure out which ones are burned and which ones aren't. And stuff.
Dan, I'm just wondering, are there questions in the room before we take another one from the chat?
I don't see any. Oh, yep.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, you mentioned about checking spelling and such. Is it easy to go back and resubmit a page with edits for something like that?
Yeah, it's very easy. At any point, you can just go back up to the front of the room where that kind of writing desk is, and if you can make edits, and if you like the edits you've made, you can hit save. Otherwise, you can hit reset to just clear them out. And the only downside is, while that will trigger another round of review. So your page will not be public for a little bit. Or if you're changing like your display name on your book, the book will leave the shelves for a little bit until we have a chance to go through another round of review. But we've been doing that I think honestly, we've been reviewing everything like within 15 minutes recently. We don't promise that it'll be
We're
like
a little excited.
business days, but we've just been so excited. So we've been reviewing everything very fast. So
was that Kefrith? Your 3D printed thing was amazing.
Oh yeah,
and your presentation, what a beautiful thing.
That was cool.
Was it the first night? The first night.
I also want to give a shout out to whoever gave the presentation about libraries yesterday. That was awesome too. I kept thinking about the vault.
That was Eric. Where is he?
Eric, amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, we're really honored to be presenting alongside all the other amazing presentations that have been
happening. We've had quite a few. Oh, sorry, Elana.
No, go for it.
We've had quite a few people saying the vault looks amazing. This is so epic. The vault is quite a programming achievement. Just when I think I'm impressed, I get even more impressed. I love how Myst it is. So in case you were wondering.
That's so Myst.
Yeah. We have a question from ID128. With so many contributions, is there a way to get a chronological list of changes as the books are updated? In that way, it helps readers to revisit a book. I think I'm going to say for now, at least, no. So come back and check on your favorite books, every few months, or if you know somebody in the community, reach out, ask them to update it, ask them, if they're adding anything else. I know mine is kind of stuck in 2004 right now. I have a ways to go to get to 2022. So check back with people often.
I will add, by the way, as you can tell, this is Elana is doing all of this, and Katie is doing, the two of them together are working on it as well. And so we're obviously not a big operation. This is all, and it's all being done within also trying to keep it very, very modest funding wise, because it's part of the Kickstarter for the documentary.
It's being done at recess and after homework is done, literally. Like Alana's been putting all her spare time.
Right.
She worked at it at the cottage. She worked at it, evenings and weekends. I think she works at it in her sleep. So
you should understand everything that has been done, which looks so and is so professional and just so gorgeous, is done, in full indie spirit. So kudos to you guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that.
It's a real sense. What I love it most is it's a sensory experience. You walk through, you pick up the book. And of course, a lot of the stuff we're taking, liberally from the aesthetic of Myst too. But just the feel of it is really beautiful. It's nice to hang out in the vault and read the stories.
Even the sound effects.
Yeah.
They really put you in the place.
Very much so. Yeah.
Alana, have you tested the site for visual accessibility? Zarfin Blong is asking if you've checked for voiceover and text-to-speech accessibility, etc.
Yeah, I think those are great questions. As often happens on small teams like this, we've been largely prioritizing just trying to get it out the door and trying to make it usable for a lot of people. It definitely is not going to be usable for everyone right now. And so currently the main accessibility feature is just being able to change the font, and the tips about where to click. And I think it would not hold up to the most rigorous accessibility testing currently. That is definitely something that I would like to continue putting care into over time. But we just really wanted to have something for all of you for Mysterium.
Yeah. And thank you to all the people who had volunteered, people who have beta tested it. And
beta tested. Yeah, the Mysterium committee and some other advocates we had. Thank you for testing.
Yeah.
I just want to say we're in our final 5 minutes. So Philip, thank you so much, Elana. And Philip, I'm going to pass the last couple of questions to you about the documentary itself, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And Dan, if you get someone in the room, you can always yell at me. But so this is a three-part question from Texture, Glitch, Fallstar, and Riam, which is: will there be a director's cut? How much behind-the-scenes footage and extended interviews will we get for the extra DVD or released later online? And also on topic, what is your favorite thing you've come across while researching and filming that you'd like that you like, but know you won't be able to include? So answer all of that as a
I'll go backwards as far as the last one goes. Nothing is ever off the table. So there's nothing I can say I won't include.
True.
Everything is up for grabs.
Josh, it's like, he includes everything.
Literally.
As far as the other questions, all I can say is, I don't know. I mean, a lot of that, we'll see how it goes. But I can tell you this: I am the greatest movie fan ever, and not just that, the greatest fan of DVD extras and all that kind of stuff. I think I would have become a filmmaker anyway, but I can say that when DVDs first came out and you could get all these bonus features and listen to commentary tracks and get extras and outtakes and all this kind of stuff, and then the web came out and all this kind of stuff, that helped me become a filmmaker, and it's such a huge part of my film education. I have a degree in not just filmmaking but also in film history and theory and stuff like that. So all that sort of extra stuff that any movie comes with, especially when it's a subject that I'm deeply fascinated with, I love. So I am with you in being a fan of that kind of stuff, and I will, aim to include as much as possible. So.
Somebody asked, and this is appropriate as well for the end of the talk, have you got any more projects you're excited to film after the Myst documentary?
Yes.
I know. You're not going to say anything about it?
No, because the Myst thing is really consuming my world, so it's very much my focus. But yeah, there's always other, right? There's always other stories you'd love to.
Other stories.
Yep.
Like to tell. So yeah.
I was going to say something spoilery, but I won't.
Good. I don't even know what it would be. But
Dan, are there any questions in the room?
I do not see any hands up.
Thank you. I want to say a deep, hearty thank you to all of you. First of all, thank you to the committee, Mysterium, for putting this on every year. It's unbelievable. To all the volunteers and everyone who's sitting at the AV table right now. I wish I could see you guys. I can hear you. I know how hard that job is, doing AV and stuff like that. And so wish I could be there in the hotel with you all, but I hope you all had a wonderful time. And I've been watching the live stream every minute that it's been on, and it's been absolutely fantastic, including the dance recital, which was pretty spectacular. So thank you. And I want to thank all my whole team here for helping us keep this project going. And if you have any questions, please do always reach out. There's sometimes people come up and sometimes we'll put out an update and somebody will ask a question, and it's it's like, hey, you don't have to wait for an update to ask that question. Contact us at any time. Katie, can you just tell people how they can join and how they can, if they're already a member, other things they could be participating in, like Discord?
Yeah. If you're not a backer yet, or you want to bump your pledge so that you can submit Myst story, you go to themystdoc.com, which Elana has graciously forwarded to Fangamers Kindling. If you want to, you can always look at the Kickstarter for previous updates to learn all the news in case you've missed it. You can look back at Philip's previous presentations at Mysteriums, and they're on YouTube and on Twitch. And join us on Discord. The invite is in our social media channels. You can follow us at the Myst Doc. We're on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I don't know, probably Tumblr and Pinterest too.
And Joshua, something I didn't get to emphasize enough is Joshua has been editing all kinds of just little snippets, little excerpts that he's been putting up. So many of them, and Katie and Joshua have been posting those to all the social media sites. So if you see those, like them, share them. I appreciate it.
And there's more on the way. I've got more in stock right now that I'm going to upload very soon. So keep on the lookout for that.
Fantastic.
I'm also very active on the social media. So if you have any questions or you just want to shout something out or chat, feel free to contact. I'm on Instagram and TikTok and
what's
Twitter
your handle?
and all those places. Oh, well, I mean, you can reach out to the Myst Doc, but my handle is Prognosis Positive. So if you want to look that up, I'm also available, and I post a lot of things, although I haven't been posting as much recently. I've been doing a lot of concert videos because I like going to concerts and seeing shows. But yeah, so feel free to hit me up if you ever want to chat.
Right on.
Yay. Thanks for being here, everybody. We really appreciate it. They were great questions today. And we can't wait to see you next year with the documentary.
Indeed.
Yes.
we missed having you here, but we are so glad that you were able to join us online, and we would love to see you next year. And now the most important thing, I'm going to hold out the camera to the audience so you can hear them.
Thank you. Thank you all. You're the best.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.